You know, I know this guy is going to be coming in for, Doomsday and Secret Wars, but I don't know if he's the right fit because, you know, in these two movies, granted it's been a while, but he was kind of a dork in these two movies. You know, I want a real imposing threat, you know. Not the Silver Surfer, he's cool and stuff. We don't want that. What we really need is a really giant cloud that swallows up planets. That seems like the type of person, not even a person, type of thing that we need as the big bad of a superhero franchise. At least that's, the thought that, people were thinking when they were making this movie. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Daniel Strong from QuickTime Reactions, and yes, this is part 3 in my Forever Classic series, where we are taking a look at all things Fantastic Four, either films or stuff that I consider to be Fantastic Four related, before the MCU's Fantastic Four takes its first steps. And yes, today is a doozy, folks, because this is the last film of this particular Fantastic Four lineup. Because we are talking about Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, which came out all the way back in 2007. This one, of course, sees all of our cast come back: Ioangruffudd, Jessica Alba, Michael Chiklis, Chris Evans, Kerry Washington, Julie. I always want to say Julius. I don't think it's Julius. Julian McMahon, but also having some new faces come in, like Andre Brower, dougjones, and Laurence Fishburne as well. In this movie, pardon me, in this movie, Reed and Sue are going to get married, but of course, with all of the media surrounding them, it's it's as difficult as me trying to clear my throat. There we go. Here, let me sip of water. And yes, I'm keeping all this in. Because I don't know how to edit very well. So, we're keeping all that in. So yes, the media is all around Reed and Sue, obviously because they are a power couple, but because they're a super power couple. But when a metallic object comes into Earth's orbit and starts disrupting things, it is up. The government goes to the Fantastic Four to see if they can try and solve this problem. Meanwhile, Doom is also around making things a bit interesting for our first family. So, are they going to be able to take down Doom and this metallic object before things get really bad? We'll have to find out. So, yes, I remember vividly when this movie was coming out, because I think all the marketing for this was like centered around Silver Surfer, and I would just say it out of the way, like, this Silver Surfer, like, I think when the stuff for Fantastic Four First Steps came out, everyone was like, that's not the Silver Surfer. Well, yes, it is, because there are actually two different versions of the Silver Surfer. There's The female version, which we are getting in First Steps, played by Julia Gardner, and that Silver Surfer is named Shalabal. In this movie, it is Norin Rad, the male Silver Surfer, and like I said in the explaining who was in the cast, Doug Jones plays him physically, but Laurence Fishburne voices him, and I think that pairs up to be like a really good combination in this movie because, you know, as the Herald of Galactus, yes, I know that, big nebulous cloud that turns into, an anus in the film, trying to suck up the Earth. That is Galactus. Why on earth they chose that design, I have absolutely no idea. But he is the Herald of Galactus. And whenever you picture a herald for someone, you would expect a big, booming voice. And not to take anything away from Doug Jones, but I would just say like maybe his voice doesn't compare to what Laurence Fishburne brings to the table. And I think they made a pretty good decision with having him voice the character because, it's made it iconic. It's made people be like, well, that's not, my Silver Surfer, whenever the stuff came out about First Steps. The chemistry of our four is absolutely awesome as always. There are some like really good scenes in this where so I should first preface this. So Silver Surfer comes in and kind of like wrecks the wedding that Reed and Sue were having in New York, and Johnny goes after Silver Surfer, and the chase with Johnny and Silver Surfer in this, really, really good. It's really, really good. Just seeing Silver Surfer phase through his board to like he looks under it, and then he basically turns himself into I wouldn't necessarily say a bullet, but like he compacts himself by like planking on his board, and he phases through a bus. Like that's awesome. And Johnny is able to catch up to Silver Surfer, but then he has him by the throat and then brings him up into space. Obviously, there's no oxygen, so Johnny, flames out, and he's chucked back down to Earth, which is a similar thing that they show in the First Steps trailer with Johnny chasing Shalabal, Silver Surfer, up into space. He grabs onto the board. He's not like on fire, and Shalabal, Silver Surfer, shakes him off. So I just find that interesting parallelisms between that. But because of his encounter with the Silver Surfer, whoever Johnny comes into contact with, he swaps powers with. So that obviously happens with Sue. She like puts a hand on his shoulder, and she starts to turn into. She basically now has the Human Torch's powers, while he has her powers. Same thing happens with when Ben comes into contact with Johnny. They swap powers, so Michael Chiklis gets to show his face in like all sorts of tattered clothes because he has the Human Torch's powers, and Chris Evans gets to wear the practical Thing makeup, which I have to say looks A, really weird on him, but also B, really good on him, because again, they used a practical Thing suit for this film, which makes me absolutely smile. Of course, they eventually swap back, which then leads to towards the tail end of the film, which, by the way, this film is like not that long. It's barely over 90 minutes. So, you know, I went into this being like, oh God, I'm gonna have to like, blitz through watching these, and I'm like, actually, first one was like an in the hour 40 range. This one is a hair over 90 minutes. The next one I think is a shade over an hour 40. The one that's coming out is actually the longest in the franchise at over 2 hours. So, you know, it's been pretty easy just kind of breezing through these. Um, but towards the tail end of the film, Johnny is able to get all four of their powers. So Reed's elasticity, Sue's invisibility, and Ben's rock features to go up against Doom, which I have to say, Doom being brought in is kind of like a backup plan because the government doesn't think the Fantastic Four is doing, what they should be doing. That's kind of just tad silly. It is just basically to get Doom in there, although I do have to say, him on the Silver Surfer's board, uh, that looks pretty cool. That I have to say that is pretty cool, and maybe that's the reason they did it, is so that they can get him on the Silver Surfer board. Which, if you had to do it to get to that visual, I kind of understand that, but at the same time, it's like there are different ways to like include him in the story. Um, like I said previously, uh, there's lots of product tie-in. Like I completely spaced the fact that um, Johnny pitched the idea of a new uniform, and it's basically a NASCAR driver suit with like all the sponsors on them and stuff like that. But the biggest one, of course, is the Fantastic car being a Dodge. It's a Dodge branded car, which I find absolutely hysterical. Um, like I said, Doug Jones does a really good job of portraying this version of Silver Surfer. Like when he is detached from his board and he's like completely grayscale, not like the shiny silver, but he's like completely grayscale, and he's like showing Sue what's going to happen when Galactus shows up on his stomach. Like I think that's pretty cool. Like the interactions between Sue and the Silver Surfer are really really good in this film as well. The effects in this are again pretty solid. It's the early 2000s, so I kind of give that a little bit of a leeway because I am a touch nostalgic for this time period. But some look good, some look bad. I do appreciate that they're using a practical thing suit. But for the most part, the effects in this are really, really good. Um, but yeah, there's not a whole lot that I have to say more about it. Like, again, really good performances, really good effects, a couple of standout moments in this film that, stick out in my mind, and probably everyone else's as well. And yeah, just short, sweet, and to the point. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that, the last one was, I believe, PG 13 rated. This one's PG. This one's a PG film, which is why it was probably advertised a lot because, this is the one that, you can take your kids to. Um, Kinda. Like, there is a touch of just a touch of nudity with Jessica Alba, when she turns into Human Torch. But other than that, it's relatively tamish. So very interesting that they made this one PG. Um, but yeah, this short, sweet, and to the point, but a couple of standout moments I think really make it iconic for people my age and you know all the nerddom people be like, well, this is the way that you should do Silver Surfer. No, it's not. Like, look at the comics. there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can go about doing Silver Surfer. So, yeah, that is pretty much my review of Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Um, yeah, I'm just dreading what I'm having to do next because it's Fan Four Stick from 2015. Pray for me on that. But until I subject myself to absolute torture next week, be sure to be safe out there, and remember, if you are out on a lake and you fall off your boat and the sea basically turns solid, it freezes, um, maybe consider, just going up into space. I know it may be expensive, but yeah, I would go up into space if that happened because I'd be scared out of my mind. I will see you guys next time.